Welcome to this episode. I have already picked a patch for us from my sound set that has a huge function applied to it. This is how it sounds. So spend attention to this thing here and this moving line. Maybe you hear it better on a higher note because it actually down here. Yeah, here it's better. So you hear this growl. By the way, the reason why we don't hear this up here is, like I told you earlier, what this here is doing, it's bringing up a modulation. And as you know, modulation increases in this kind the frequency, the higher, harsher notes, frequencies. And if we play this high, it's still there, but it's kind of subtle. But if we play a really dark note, then we can hear way more of this harmonic content that's being added on top. This is why a dark note here is more useful. So what you see is, what I've done here is I've created basically a sine wave. So basically something like this. But as you can see, I had already 3 LFOs in use for this patch, and they all have different speeds and purposes. And this one, the only sine wave, is really slow, and I wanted to have it a little bit faster. So I just picked a function and built myself a sine wave. So this is one way to apply functions. Actually, if you run out of LFOs and envelopes that could do the same job, you could take your function and do it. But yeah, the special thing about functions is, as I told you earlier, you could even do something like this. You can just create your own envelope and actually this is pretty cool. Let's do something like this. It's kind of funny, but you get the idea, right? So this is, you can just go crazy and can do whatever you want with this. Could even apply this a little bit to the cut off. And here's this bipolar button. It does the same that a unipolar button here does. So if you click on bipolar, it becomes bipolar, like the LFO by default. So it goes into 2 directions, as you see here, left and right. And if you unclick this, it gets unipolar, and now has only this one direction. Of course, this is not in sync now, because you can see here this little brighter lines. So I could actually bring this up here. So this is a quarter note, I guess, and then this here, and then this here, and this here, and it should now be a little bit more in rhythm. Let's see. Yeah. So here you can have a little bit of orientation. So you see this line here is a little bit brighter than the dark line. So these are markers for your beat part. So this is the first part, the second part, the third part, and the fourth part. You can see it here on this bigger white lines. And you can have 3 functions which are accessible here, or just click there. Like I said, here you can change the polarity. if you rather want to have it go into both directions or only one. Here you can change the speed as always. So if I bring this up, we'll have a quicker speed. Then down here we can pick between loop, which is looping this envelope, or we can click on one, which means it's a one shot, so it will be only played once and then stays at the end. And because we have legato and I'm holding down the note, we will stay at this value. You can see it says legato keyboard on the bottom middle. But if I release the key now and play another key, I will re-trigger. So as you remember, legato only triggers when we hold down a note when we play another note. So it just dives into the current value. And run, like on the LFO, means the function envelope just minds its own business. So it's running all the time and we just get the value whatever it is on when we play our key. So if I play in the middle, we straight jump into those values. And this is true for every other note. And then, of course, you have the different gate sources again. So mono will retrigger for every note. Which sounds pretty shit on this one, I have to admit. And then we have poly, which means every note gets its own cycle, independent from the others. But as you see, it doesn't sound quite good with this, because this here is creating kind of a rhythm, and if you create kind of a rhythm, you want everything to play in this rhythm, because there's no point in me playing 3 notes with different rhythms. They just get into each other's way. So for things like this, you want to have either free running, which in this case is just clicking on run, so whatever I play is in the sequence. Or you just want to have the legato option. Exactly. This is what makes most sense. And as you see, there are lots of other sources to start, but I won't cover them right now, because all of this is going into the advanced sound design stuff. It's really getting complicated from there on. So this is what we don't need now, and this is what you won't find on most synthesizers. Like I told you in the beginning, I want this course for you to be really about learning sound design and understanding it, not in particular learning pigments inside out just with this course. So most of the time, if you have an envelope like this, you don't even have the choice to make this start with function 2 or like randomizer 3 or something like this. So I really teach you the things that are common that you will hopefully find on most of the synthesizers. Some even don't have these settings here, but these are the most important. Yeah, and this is how you can apply functions. So the principle of envelopes we had explained a few of times. Like I said in the last episode, LFOs create motion or rhythm, but on a constant repetition and with a fixed waveform. And here we can create our own envelope. So waveform and envelope in this case means the same. You could even call this here waveform or envelope. So here we can create our own envelope, and we can make it one shot or loop, whatever we want. And this is simply how to apply these. We'll just give you one more example. Let's see what we can pick for this. So what is this, a texture? Oh yeah, actually a nice example, because it always already has 3 of them. So we have function 1 moving the filter like this. So I set this up like a square wave in the LFO. This is actually something I could have done with the LFO, but I decided to make it with the functions. Then we have function 2, which goes... Oh yeah, okay, this is getting complicated, because this is granular synthesis, super complicated, advanced stuff. But it basically messes with the start position of the sample here, just in this shape. So again, this is something I could have done with an LFO probably. But as you see, I only had 1 left, so probably this is why I started to use functions and then just stick with them, so that I would run out of space with LFOs anyway. And when I was working with functions, I just stick to this. And function 3 is just moving this filter here. This filter is affected by 2 things, not only by this function. So this function here changes the starting position, as you can see here. It goes up and down, and something else then is even messing from there on with this movement. Probably function 1 or something else, I don't know, maybe an LFO. LFO 1, I guess, LFO 2. It doesn't matter, something is modulating this, but you get the idea. So in this case, I've just used the functions. Sometimes you just want to draw in your own stuff and then work with this. And by the way, the other things here, they don't really matter. Like here's just presets that you can use or save. Then this is just another way to draw. As you can see, these numbers here, these values, they change when I make this. So you can type in precisely values if you're not sure if you're perfectly online, but they are magnetized, as it says here. So if you want to bring this really, really into position, it falls into place, so you don't need to worry. It will always have the right value. Of course, if this is off and you make something like this and it looks like it's straight, but you can see here it's not, right? This is straight. But this is just what the magnetize button for is. With scale, you can just shift a little bit of the shape, and the draw mode is just when you want to create stuff, you can go with something like this as well. So now we have different values. So this is good to create a ribbon actually. So let me draw. A little bit difficult because you need to click in the proper second, but you know, like you could build ribbons easier with this. Come on. Yeah, you can hear this, I guess. So now we have this ribbon here. And then you can just change the draw mode and do stuff like this. So this just helps you if you want to really create ribbons with particular forms, that you can just draw them in easier and you know, but generally this is just the free draw tool, and you can do whatever you want. If this is just shortcuts, if you already know you just want to create something like this ribbons, then you can do this perfectly with this tool. So that's about functions. So I hope it's clear for you the difference between these 3 concepts now. So it should make it easier for you to decide when to pick which of these opportunities that you have, depending on what you want, right? So you have these different choices and you know how to apply it. So in the next section, in the next video, we will be talking about the randomizers, See you there.